feared and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Ooh, we are chasing the pennant tonight. We are CTP Podcast. I am your host, Shane, and I am joined by Sean, who has come up with the wonderful name. It's cool for me to first introduce this tonight. This is swell. You got to last night. How are you, Sean?
I'm good. Ready to talk about some sports and some uniforms and pretty much anything baseball related that we can find.
I hear that. We have Scott over on the West Coast. Apparently, I'm already going to mess up. It's only 9:30 this time. How are you, Scott?
Pretty good. We had a longer running show last night. That was a lot of fun. So I completely get if there's a little mental fatigue going on from all of us. I'm certainly going to start mixing my words shortly enough.
That's true. And then we have Joe Borek. Joe, this is like 3 shows for you in less than 10 days. I just want to check on your mental well-being. You doing okay?
Yeah, doing well. I mean, might as well keep busy. I mean, what the hell else are we doing right now other than just watching TV and watching shit that you don't really want to watch at certain points. So.
That's fair, man. That is fair. So tonight we have several things in store for you. But first, I am going to turn this one over to Scott tonight. And before I do, I want to make sure that I give a special shout out to the guys who bring us in and take us out of all of these shows. They are currently working on a CTP specific intro and outro song, and I'm pretty excited about it. But that is the Jackdaws. Check them out you can go to their Patreon. First of all, it's just patreon.com/the Jackdaws. You can also go to their website, which is just www.jackdaws.com. They are phenomenal musicians, and they're awesome human beings. So whatever we're getting to go to them financially in terms of whether it be just donations to their Patreon page, or if you're buying their music, if you're buying any of their T-shirts and mugs and anything like that, they're actually donating some of their things to local artists who also tour the country with them, who have a little bit lesser of a following than they do. They're great people. They look out for everyone that they kind of tour around with, and you have to respect that. So definitely keep supporting the Jackdaws. They're great people. I'm super excited to see what they come up with for our show. But we are going to turn this one over to Scott here. Scott, you have come up with an awesome topic for tonight, one that has gotten me irately angry and also incredibly enthused with laughter throughout my playing days. And that is the unwritten rules of baseball. So I'm going to turn this one over to you, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, baseball is America's pastime. It's a game deeply rooted in history, and things that have been around for a long time have a lot of rules that everyone of all ages needs to follow. I actually can't think of another sport, another game really, that has a longer list of just unwritten rules that will piss off your coach endlessly, whether you're playing t-ball or, in the majors. So just to warm you guys up a little bit, give you like an example or two. I think probably the most, popular one that everyone knows, probably when you're about 13 on, is don't make the first or the third out at third base. You do that, you're sitting your ass on the bench for quite some time. You're getting yelled at by your coach. You're getting yelled at by your mom in the car on the ride home. You're crying. It's not going to be fun. So I wanted to pick you guys' ears, and, I know that Shane certainly has a long list of things that bother him in baseball, which is part of the reason I picked this topic. I wanted to get you guys a little fired up. But I'm going to kick it over to you first, Sean. What would you say is an unwritten rule of baseball that will have you up in your chair just screaming at the clouds?
So I have a couple, but my main one, and this is a big one in baseball, is I'm superstitious, so not talking about a no-hitter or not packing up your stuff before the end of a game. Those kind of general rules are 2 big ones that I follow.
Yes.
I'm glad you said that. I had a perfect game once when I was
No, you didn't.
freshman. I was a freshman in high school. I had a perfect game going. The team sucked. We had to drive an hour and a half out into the fucking cow farms of Pennsylvania. It was weird. 4 innings, perfect game. Come into the dugout. My catcher at the time says to me, he goes, "Hey man, you're throwing really well. You got a perfect game going." I flipped out, lost my shit on him, walked someone, gave up a hit in the next inning, immediately got pulled out of the game. So that one will bother me forever, and I'm glad that you brought that one up first, Sean.
I need to know how deep into this game were you?
It was 4 innings, and the team was so bad that we were getting close to 10 running them. So if I could have hung on for another game, another inning.
Such a bullshit. Whatever.
Yeah, I agree. It probably wouldn't have counted, and I would have been angry about the fact that I didn't have a real perfect game. But 10 years after the fact, or oh god, I guess it's like 13 or 14 years after the fact, I would still be bragging right now to you guys about how I threw a perfect game.
Yeah, I mean, you just couldn't reveal any of the details.
No, of course not.
Like, could you imagine? And like, that's some of the people on this show now who want 7-inning baseball games and 7-inning doubleheaders. That's more.
Those people are jerks.
Those people are dumb. How could you possibly want that right now? Because then you have to be like, could you imagine Aaron Nola pitching a no-no, getting it through 7 innings, and then just being like, well, I mean, you kind of did. You'd have to asterisk that shit and throw him in his own book and his own page in the hall. That's not fun.
Yeah, the exact thing did happen to the best pitcher on my high school varsity team. Shout out to Shane Petrellis. He went on to pitch at LaSalle. He was a real
Something
good
with the name.
Yeah, it's a great name. He's a great kid. Like, he's just one of those guys that everyone kind of liked too. So we were all like rooting for him. Like, there was no hostility at all. And we blew this team out. We were up like 20 runs or something after 4 innings, and he had a perfect game going. And they called it. The Bucks County Courier wrote it up like he had a perfect game. And to Shane's credit, he would not admit that he threw a perfect game. To this day, he probably still would not admit it. So I'm going to acknowledge it. I think he deserved it. But Joe Borek, let's hear what bothers you about the unwritten rules of baseball.
Well, one of my superstitious ones, of course, is, if we're going to start with that, is don't step on the line. Always jump over the line. And then another one is do not bunt to break up a perfect game or no-hitter. An example I have of this is actually from one of our announcers now for the Phillies, where he bunted back in, I believe it was 2001, to break up Kurt Schilling's no-hitter, and that is catcher Ben Davis.
It's because he's a piece of shit.
So that is a unwritten rule that I don't think you should break. Of course, his manager probably told him to do it, I would think, but
no,
that is something
he did that shit on his
be.
own.
And then my last one is just putting in your closer when it's tied on the road. To me, does not make a hell of a lot of sense unless if your bullpen just sucks. Like, otherwise, you should not do that, because you're better.
Like that's.
You better have somebody else to put in to close if you put your closer in a tie game. Otherwise, you're going to get manslaughtered by the fans after.
I feel like that's dated, because like almost no one has traditional roles anymore in bullpens, and even if you do, there are exceptions to every single one of the bullpen usage rules now in today's game, where it's almost just normal for these guys to go 4+ outs. Like, it's not the biggest of deals now. Ordinary, like 5 years ago, I would have agreed with you, but I don't really give a shit about that now.
Well, you might see more destined closers now, because of the 3-out rule, where they're not going to want to put some guys that are not that comfortable in the ninth inning inning now that they have to get 3 out.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's kind of how sabermetrics have changed a lot of stuff too, because there's some numbers nerd behind every decision now that can prove everything you've been doing wrong for the last 50 years. And it takes a lot of fun out of baseball. This is the kind of shit that I live for, and I probably stopped working for a good half an hour today. Sorry, Arbortech. But I sat and just thought of different things. One of the ones that I came up with before we get and let you loose, Shane, was don't steal bases when you're up big. As a kid who's played on plenty of teams that have sucked, and I've also been on teams that have beaten the shit out of a bunch of people, nothing gets a bunch of just dads in jean shorts, screaming more on the sidelines than than stealing when 12-year-old Jimmy just steals third base when they're up 14 runs and makes the catcher cry because he throws a ball into the outfield and then steal home. Like, it's a whole mess. It's just improper, and baseball is a gentleman's game. So if we're not going to follow that rule, when you're just beating the shit out of someone, then what are we even doing here?
Definitely more for like kids, like Babe Ruth and Legion style, and like high school. Because like, who's doing that after that? Like that often? Unless you're like just a real, just smacked ass. Like, who's doing that? Like Jimmy Rollins is a guy who I could see do that because he's kind of a dick. But like outside of that, in terms of Phillies players, I could see a couple of Phillies players being dumb enough.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a dumb thing.
Like Odubel Herrera could have done that shit.
He easily could have done that, honestly. I have a story of doing it in Little League, but that's also because the pitcher hit me twice in the same game. So the second time he did it, I was like, you guys are up big.
You got to first base. Joke's on him.
I was like, we're up big, but screw you. You hit me again, so I'm moving up a little bit.
I love
you guys can lose by an extra run.
Yeah, I think it's grounds for starting a benches clearing brawl. Honestly, if we do that in the majors nowadays, it's just like impolite. Like I don't know. Like
I love
people
just use the word impolite.
Yeah, it's just very rude. Like come on, man. Nobody wants to be here anymore. This game sucks. It's been going on for 4 hours. You're up by 10 runs. Like, let's all get out of here and go get drunk. Like, that's what they all are thinking.
People don't steal as much in general either, so that's probably why that's less likely to happen nowadays.
I'm gonna say it's because everyone did it once when they were little and got just hollered at by their dad or mom on the ride home. We all just have it ingrained in our culture to just not do it. All right, Shane, let's let you loose here. What is bothering you the most in terms of unwritten rules in baseball?
Man, I have so many. But I'm going to start with this one. If your teammate charges the mound, you fucking charge the mound. It doesn't matter what's going on. You just have to. Even if you know you're like Scott, you're like 3.5 feet tall and 103 pounds. You got to charge the mound.
105, baby. Quarantine diet.
I'm sorry. I apologize. That's right. You've been running 13.5 minutes a night. So like, you just kind of have to. And like 9 times out of 10, like these, benches clearing brawls, they're not that. You guys ever see Andrew McCutcheon's thing from, I guess he was probably still with the Pirates, either Pirates or Giants. And he was running in from the outfield and he's like, let me show you what this is like for a benches clearing ball for an outfielder. You got to run all the way in. Nothing happens. You talk a little bit. Now you just got to walk back and you're tired. That is pretty much what happens, but you don't want to be the asshole who's just still sitting in the dugout or sitting in the bullpen or didn't run from your position. You just have to do it. If someone charges the mound, everyone charges the mound.
It's a surefire way to just be called a bitch for the rest of your playing career. Like, everyone will bring it up. People will never forget. And
so, the reason I bring this one up first is, actually, I don't even know. Scott, did you play anyone from like where I played and grew up in like Lansdale-ish area?
Yeah, we used to play Lenape Little League growing up all the time.
Okay.
I've played with some guys from LC before. So yeah.
All right. So like there are two like sides of it. Like this is very like rich kid and then like not at all rich kid. And you could tell like the rich kids, like they were the first ones to jump off the bench because like they had to fear nothing. But like then there was the other half of the kids who like sat on the bench, looked at their parents growing up and they're like, dude, can I do this? And like you had those moms who were like, I swear to God, if you do, you're going to have to wear New Balances for the rest of your life. That is a poor kid's joke from last night. Listen to the pod. Very high quality joking here. But we had kids on our high school team who would legitimately say, I don't want to get suspended. I have a final tomorrow. I think that's the perfect reason to get suspended. You get an extra week of studying. I hated that kid. I hated that kid so damn much. So that to me is number one. And then Borek, you had kind of mentioned one earlier. Retaliation is something that needs to be in the game. Like it needs to be in all of sports, honestly. Sports in general have gotten so soft. But like you can't get hit on something that looks even remotely purposeful and then not have your pitcher throw at someone the next inning. You can't be a pitcher and get hit even by accident and then not just hit at least 2 people in the next inning or 2. You just have to do this shit. And there's not enough of that in baseball. If you don't want to stick up for your guys, get the hell back down in the minor leagues. That stuff drives me crazy.
Completely agree. Yeah. I think this is weird. As a pitcher, I had that kind of responsibility on me. One of the weirder kind of things that would happen is I didn't like my catcher through a lot of high school, just didn't get along with him as a person, but he was my catcher and I would ride or die for him. I do remember like a couple times him getting hit and then me just hitting someone. And because I'm so small, no one took it as retaliation, so nothing happened. But in the back of my head, I was like, I won that battle. Yeah, I hit him. He's not going to hit my catcher. Like, and also the pitch was like 47 miles an hour, so it probably didn't even hurt. The joke was on me because I put the guy at first base. But you got to do it.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Do you guys have more? Because I have a list of like 80 of these.
I have like
a
one more.
ton.
Keep
Go
going.
for it, Sean.
Nah, go ahead, Scott. I already said one.
Nah, I got one that's going to take us on a tangent for a bit, so go
Solid.
for it. I want to hear
All
from you here.
When looking up like a list of them, because I really couldn't think, I was having like a brain fart. I came across a list where it was listing all of the ones that you guys said, like the famous ones, the not so famous ones, and then the last one said, "Don't be like A-Rod." And I was kind of intrigued. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it just brought up like examples of everything he's done in his career that just go against everything that traditional baseball people stand for, like stepping on the mound on the way back from he was stealing second. Yeah, he was stealing second and he rounded second because I think it said Cano was up and he hit a foul ball, and instead of going back like through the baselines, he cut across the pitching mound, and I don't know who was pitching, but he was pissed. He yelled at 2 infielders as they were congregating under a pop fly. And then the last example that it gave was he slapped the ball out of somebody's glove. I'm
for that.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I also thought that was Jeter. Was that really A-Rod? How am I blanking on that?
I think it was A-Rod. I think because they had a picture, and I kind of remember like seeing a video of it a long time ago of him doing that to somebody, like as he's running to first.
Get a better glove. If your leather's that soft, you deserve for that shit to get slapped out your glove.
Yeah. That one I don't have a problem with. But Sean, we were thinking on the exact same page. That's what I was going to bring up is I think the worst thing A-Rod ever did for the game of baseball was not taking steroids, was not lying about it, was not being a general piece of shit during his whole playing career. But I think when he would just do that kind of shit to break the unwritten rules, that's why to this day, despite being an excellent analyst, I hate A-Rod to my core. The thing where he got in, I can't remember who the third baseman was, but when he yelled in his ear and made him drop the fly ball, and he took no blame for it and never apologized for it, and people just dropped it, drove me nuts. That's just against the honor code of all sports. You cannot do that. Just baseball is not fucking nom. There are rules, even though they're not written down, and we need to follow them. And goddamn it, A-Rod, you followed none of them.
Well, I think you're gonna hate him even more. I saw a thing. I don't know if you guys saw this. He put in a bid for him and his wife put in a bid for the Mets. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So. They deserve it. And that's the worst organization of baseball. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. Funny how the Yankees can own the Mets and then the Marlins.
Yeah, it's gross.
Well, I do like J-Lo, and I do like A-Rod as an analyst. So now I'm going to have to go back to just hating him completely if he's not on Baseball Tonight or not on Sunday Night Baseball or anything. So good. A-Rod might be dead to me in the next year if they win this bid. But all right, Shane, what else you got over there?
All right. So this one I love for a multitude of reasons. But if you are in a streak, you can't do anything different. It doesn't matter how many people you hurt along the way. You just got to ride that shit out. And if you don't, you're selfish as shit. You have to do this for your team. Like if you fucked up, and I'm not this guy, but if you fucked up and you slept around on your lady and it worked and you guys started winning games, unfortunately, you have to be a piece of shit a little longer. It's what you have to do, unfortunately. So if you got to be an asshole for the betterment of the team, keep going.
Completely agree. One of our little league coaches, he was. Did you ever? Yeah. You know the Volrath, Shane, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Mr. Volrath, excellent baseball coach, all around just a great guy. I remember being 11 one time, and someone, had said something, and they're like, Jim, how are you guys winning all these games? And he's like, I don't want to take all the credit for it. I'm just coaching, but I haven't changed my underwear in 2 weeks since the last time we lost the game. I'm not changing it until we lose a game. So, that's why we're winning all these games. And that stuck with me as like an 11-year-old. And to your credit, you cannot break things on streaks. If the underwear is winning the game for you, well, fuck it. You're not changing that underwear. Never. Can't wash it. Can't do anything with it.
So I played for like my local town team when I was 20. I want to say like 21 or 22. And the way that the system worked was like once you hit a particular level as like a little leaguer, you had the same uniform like for that town forever. And it was pretty cool. And it was like very, very San Francisco Giantsy because we were black and orange. But I had worn the same pair of baseball pants and we had won like 4 or 5 like years in a row. And I had the entire left ass cheek was just torn. Like from the belt loop of my left ass cheek all the way down to like the back of my knee. And I didn't give a shit. I was like, unfortunately, I'm just going to have to keep buying longer sliding shorts underneath this because these just got to stay. It didn't matter how bad I looked. It just needed to happen. Well, I think my last like major knee injury was like several years later. I had the surgery. I had this giant ass brace on and I was coaching for this team because I didn't think I'd ever be able to play again. Or I was coaching for a team that wore the same uniform, I should say. And I hadn't seen Stephanie in 10 years at this point. We had just reconnected. Her dad had knee surgery too. So she messaged me on Facebook and she's like, I want to come see you coach. And I didn't think about it. And I was like, yeah, you should totally do that. Well, I didn't have any clean sliding shorts left. I'm not really playing. I didn't really feel a need to care. So she saw me not only limping with this gigantic brace on, not only seeing my kids lose that game 16-2, after not seeing it for 10 years, my left ass cheek was out the whole fucking time.
And that's why you guys are dating to this day.
I don't know why we
into the left ass cheek.
I don't know. Well, I was much thinner back then, and I looked probably significantly better, even with the whole limp and everything. But man, she's a good woman. She is a good woman.
Yeah, what a story. I did have a couple other ones that this one might actually even be a written rule, but it's something that gets ingrained to you when you're little. As soon as you're allowed the suicide squeeze, you do everything to contact the ball during a suicide squeeze. I don't care if you got to throw yourself in front of it. I don't care if you got to throw the bat at it. I don't care if this is one of the few times you're allowed to yell at a catcher to distract him. Do anything, because if you leave the guy at third base out to dry, you might just have to quit that team, and you can't play anymore in that league because no one wants you on their team.
I have a story about that.
I'm glad you brought that one up because that's a very perfect one.
It is a good rule. So as a high school kid, I was playing up, and the coach who had recruited me to my high school got fired before the season started. So I had to meet an entire new coaching staff who did not like me, and it was like one of my first varsity practices, and we had to go through this hitting drill where it was like, all right, man, this is all situational hitting, and our head coach was throwing. So it was basic shit like, all right, hey, you need to hit a sac fly, you need to hit the ball the other way, you need to hit the ball on the ground, whatever the thing was. And then it got down to the suicide squeeze drill or the hit and run where you definitely needed to execute, and there was no excuse. Yeah. Everyone else is getting a 30-mile-an-hour, little lollipop fastball over the middle. Like, it was just enough to make sure that you knew what to do with the bat. I got knuckleballs spiked into the ground, and I missed, obviously. I ran so fucking much. I ended up, for the next 4 years of high school, I was sitting there, and every time I go to the gym, I'd be lifting weights, 1 for Scotty, 2 for Scott. I was so pissed off all the time. It was the coach's name, not for you, Scott. Don't get that. But yeah, man, You just do. And like now, I can hit anything. Doesn't matter. I'm Vlad Guerrero with that. You want to bounce something, I will find a way to make some kind of connection.
Yeah. You learn the rule. I mean, you got to do it. A close corollary to that is what you just mentioned is you can't take a hit and run. That always happened without fail. Every time I coach kids, every time you start a new team, every time a kid doesn't know what a hit and run is, he always takes one. And then the third base coach loses his mind to the point where, the umpire has to detain him and tell him that there are women and children around and to stop swearing. Like,
I didn't realize you saw me coach.
Yeah, but it's completely justified. You can't take the pitch. Like, you're leaving your guy out to dry. I mean, most of these rules come back to just not fucking over your teammate. And what better way is there to make your teammate look like an asshole than to take a hit and run pitch? Like, that kid's dead. There's no way he's making it.
Especially because so many times you're just trying to get that fat kid moving. Like it's like with little kid baseball, not so much in Major League Baseball. Like you're trying to get a guy to score from first. But like as a little kid, like it's the coach's kid who's fat, and he's like, well, we got to get this kid to third somehow. And you just screwed him over. He's a dead duck going to second.
It's embarrassing for everyone involved, especially the third base coach that is absolutely losing his shit.
Oh, yeah.
I have a couple more old school rules.
Yeah, man, go.
All right, go for it, Borek.
I was going to say one more of mine is I think what drives me nuts is if a starting pitcher comes out of the game and immediately, like, he might talk to like one person and then goes to the showers. I think one just should stay in the dugout after being pulled from a game, at least for a lenient period of time. I think, honestly, as a starting pitcher, it would be best to stay in the dugout afterwards because it's not like everybody else is not getting a shower after the game. Like, why do every starting pitcher have to be special all of a sudden and then come back in? Like, I feel like some pitchers do that. I remember seeing Cliff Lee stay in dugouts at time. Same with Roy Halladay to watch his team play, but not a lot of guys do that. And then a big one with me is Larry Bowa. I remember they talked about this on the Philly Talk podcast, but they talked about how if you sucked that game, don't run off the field. If you suck that game, embrace getting booed because you should be getting booed because you didn't do anything in that game to get the field. So no matter if you're a hitter and you're getting pinch hit for or whatever, usually it's a pitcher, but do not run off the field because you deserve to get booed in that game. A guy that I can think of doing that all the time was Bastardo. If Bastardo sucked and he got pulled, that dude usually cooked it to the
biggest ass in baseball, man.
Yeah. Dude, that is the loneliest walk you can have, is when you're getting shelled as a pitcher. You suck, and the coach is trying to not yell at you because he knows that you suck already, and anything he says now is just rubbing it in. And, you flip him the ball and you walk off, and everyone just looks at you awkwardly and goes, what do we do? That kid sucks. He just gave up a 700-foot home run. Like, is he allowed to play anymore? Do we even like him? Like, and then you sit in the end of the bench. And because I agree, you can't go back to the showers. You can't go to the trainer or whatever. You sit at the end of the bench. You take your isolation like a man. And then you come to practice the next day and get made fun of for it a little bit. That's just the cycle of baseball.
I think that's
fair.
fair.
I totally agree.
Yeah. But,
I got a question for you guys because I'm curious about this one, and for a while I didn't know what side of the thing I stood on, but I'm pretty confident now. How are you about kind of showboating? Showing, if you hit a home run, you show off. If you strike a kid out in a key moment, you stare him down like Scott over there, all intimidating at 105 pounds. You guys think that's fine, or are you like more like gentlemanly, like just walk off the fucking field?
Go for it, Sean.
I think it entirely depends on the situation, but I think with today, like the whole let the kids play movement that they're trying to impress on us, I love it. I love the bad flips. I love the showboat, and I love everything about it. I think it's good for the sport. As non-traditional as it is, I think it's good for the future of baseball.
Thank you. I used to be like so much like act like you've been here before, and like I used to yell at all my kids all the time that I would coach. I'd be like, "The hell is wrong with you? Like, we won one game in 3 years. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, just get back in the dugout. Like, this is never gonna happen again. Don't have too much fun." But like, then they get better, and like you realize it, and you're like, man, like no, emotion's part of this. Like, don't hold that back. And it's exactly like what you said with the let the kids play thing. I love it, man. If If you don't want to see that dude flip a bat, don't throw a meatball. Like, it's just as simple as that. If you don't want to look like an asshole at the plate, like, maybe don't strike out looking.
Yeah, I was gonna say I completely agree. Let the kids play, but also let the boys be boys. So, when you hit the 700-foot home run off of Scott and his head's down in the dirt, you're allowed to showboat. But at the same time, when I embarrass you with a 32-mile-an-hour changeup and you strike out looking, and I showboat and I run back into the dugout and everyone's like hooting and hollering for me, you got to wear it. It's your time. I'm sorry. Like,
oh, that's solid.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else got any last unwritten rules of baseball to throw out to the group?
The only last one I would have, and this is just because for a period of time when I played the outfield, I did play center, and I know our coach ingrained this in us, is if you play any other outfield position or you play center, let the center fielder get the ball if they are in the area to get the ball. They're the leader of the outfield. So if the center fielder calls for it, move your ass out of the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Corollary to that one, too, is the outfield calls the infield off on fly balls when they're moving backwards.
Yeah,
Versus coming in.
And bad story for this one. I remember I saw, this is why I'll never forget that rule. So we had two guys they were a year older than me. Their game was finishing up. Oh my God, it was terrible. The second baseman ran into the right fielder. The second baseman tore his ACL in the collision. The right fielder broke his jaw and had his jaw wired shut for like 3 months or something, like incredibly long.
Plan.
Oh my God, he lost so much weight. I felt horrible for the kid. And he was already like skinny and lanky, so he was fucking skeleton by the end of it. He couldn't hit the ball past second base after that.
Probably safer.
Yeah. felt awful for him. But that noise that it made, the two of them like, colliding and then just screaming, just ingrains in your brain that, you know what, if you're playing second base and someone calls you off, you get the fuck out of the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. I'm
pleasure.
always down to talk about these things. I love ranting about anything that other people probably don't care too much about, but we do. So we are CTP and we're awesome.
Half the topics I come up with, I have just someone ranting in mind. That to me, that is the most fun thing that we can do. Is get someone fired up and yelling at the clouds, as I said before. So yell at those clouds, guys.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to shift this one over to Sean. Sean's going to take over for Andrew for this side of the pod. Andrew's going to be back on Thursday night with Rob and with Biscuit. Andrew's uniform bracket. We are now on round 3. We're going to give our votes. They better be the correct votes. Sean, take it away, sir. We have 4 matchups left here.
I mean, everybody's vote is the correct vote when you're talking about uniform opinions, but I'm excited to host this one. I have been super into looking at all this and looking at the Twitter results, and I've even asked my friends about a couple, and I have one tonight that I still do not have a full answer for, so I am super excited to get to that. So for the first matchup, I'm going to throw this one to Borek. Pick a uniform between the Phillies and the Brewers.
Okay, well, I'm going to pick the Phillies here because the Phillies, as we started on the first podcast segment, I think we said them and the Yankees are the classic pinstripe uniforms. Of course, we now have to throw in here for Biscuit our powder blue uniforms that everybody loves. We have the maroon ones that Andrew mentioned that a lot of people didn't like, but were somewhat okay. So we have a lot of cool uniforms over the history. The Brewers, I like some of their old school stuff, and the newer ones a little cool, but they don't have as much of a historic lineage of uniforms, obviously. So I have to pick the Phillies.
It's a good point. Anybody agree or disagree with this?
Yeah, I'm going
first
Phillies.
time. Yeah, this is the first time I'm going to pick the Phillies in this bracket outside of their bye week.
Huh. Interesting. You both picked the Phillies.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the Brewers hat isn't going to win it for this one for me.
And that's the only thing that would have.
Yep, I agree.
No Pat, that's it.
Well, I'm sticking true to what I said before, and I'm actually going to take the Brewers here. Not just for the sake of debate, but I think that A, the logo that you guys are talking about, and B, their color scheme. I just love it. I love Phillies red, but the Brewers color scheme is one that has always caught my eye. Not so much their ones from today, but their throwbacks. So I'm gonna have to go with the Brewers here, which puts that at 3-1 in favor of the Phillies, and we will await the results from Thursday night's pod with the other 3 podcast members. Moving on to the next matchup in the National League. For the Final Four of the National League, we have the Cubs and the Nationals/Expos. Scott, start us off.
Give me the Cubs. Give me Cole Hamels and his flow sticking out the back. I know he's not on the Cubs anymore, but just give me the Cubs uniform. It's classic. Can't be beat here. Going Cubs.
Man, you in Hollywood.
Big time Cole Hamels guy. I'm going to bring it up at least once a show for the duration of this podcast.
I'm surprised this isn't a point you made for the Phillies uniform.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't need to tag Cole in for the Phillies uniform yet. The uniform stood for itself here. I mean, next round I'll probably have to call him in. I'm not going to lie, but.
All right. Anybody else for Cubs Expos?
I would say I would also lean. I've been mostly voting for the Expos here, but now that it came against the Cubs, I would also lean towards the Cubs. Again, a very historic uniform. I like their colors with the blue and red scheme they use. I always like their uniforms, so I would have to lean towards the Cubs. And even their Cubbies uniforms that not that many people like, they're all right. So, yeah, I would lean towards the Cubs.
And Shane?
I'm going to go Expos. I like their like baby bluish kind of uniform. I always thought that was pretty sharp with like the slightly darker blue in the logo with the red too. I always dug that look. I hate the Nationals uniforms. Like I don't think I like a single one of them. But if we're picking just one jersey here to go up against one other one, like each team's best, I got to go with that jersey from Expos days.
Interesting. All right. I'm also going to go with the Expos. I've stuck up for them, Expos/Nationals, even though I'm not even going to talk about the Nationals. I've stuck up for them from the beginning, and I'm pretty sure I've picked against the Cubs every round, so I'm going to stick true to that. I love the color scheme of what the Expos had, and I've mentioned before I can't wait for them to come back. I can't wait for baseball to expand and for me to be able to see that team again. So that ties it at 2-2. Moving to the American League side of this, I'm going to skip A's Royals and save it for last. We're going to go to Yankees versus Rays. Shane, start us off.
This one is probably, I think, the hardest of the matchups of this one. I find it so hard to go against the Yankees uniforms just in general. Like in theory, like the Yankees should win this bracket. But I feel like if there was one team from that upper half of it that deserved to be there up there with them, it's probably the Rays. And I'm oddly leaning towards a Rays upset right now. So I think I'm going to go with the Rays and their current homes. I dig them, so I'm going to roll with that.
Interesting. Scott or Joe?
Well, go ahead, Scott.
This is a very tough. Yeah, I know, man. I didn't know if that was going to pick up. Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Yankees here, but I don't feel good about it.
I feel good about the Rays. So we cancel each other out. So Borek, you want to ruin this?
Well, this was a very tough one for me too, because I liked how I said on a past podcast the Devil Rays uniforms, and that was one of the first things that annoyed me in baseball when they changed to the Rays. Now I do like their current uniforms, as Shane said, so I got over it. But I really like those old school Devil Rays uniforms, so if I was matching it up against a jersey, I might have to go for an upset too, because I just liked how they had such that cool popping color scheme with the Devil Rays.
I'm agreeing with everything Borek said there. I am making it a 3-1 Rays.
Wow,
I really needed
upset.
this to be a push. So I just wanted to be mad at Thursday's crew, no matter what their answer was.
This one actually, to me, wasn't that hard. I love the Rays.
Really?
I love the color scheme. Yeah. I also haven't been a fan of the classic look for any of these matchups.
That's true. He's staying consistent.
I guess that is true.
So the Rays, to me, even their newer uniforms, and I know I mentioned this last time, it just, everything about them just pops. And I even said I like the green sleeve old Devil Rays uniforms. So I will make this 3-1 Rays over the Yankees. And now we get to, in my eyes, the hardest matchup. And that's Athletics and Royals. And I'm going to let Shane start this off because we all know which one he picked here.
Yeah, it's the Athletics. I mean, you guys are done.
Nothing else? No.
No, nothing needs to be
Extras.
said about the Phillies uniform in this bracket, outside of what was probably the Yankees, even though I went against them.
And that is their home whites, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So they're older home whites. Yeah, that's like all white, all white.
Okay. All right.
White belt, white cleats. Only color there is in the embroidery on the chest and then the hat.
Is anybody else going against Shane here? Or are we too smart for that?
No, but I had to do some mental gymnastics to get over this one. So I had to go to I think, as I've said many times up to this point, the black A's hat is the best hat in all of baseball. But then we have the Bo Jackson jerseys, which might be the best jersey in all of baseball. Those cancel each other out. Then you got to look at everything else that's going on. And then I think the A's uniform that Shane keeps bringing up is classic. It's unbelievable. You just saying the white spikes right there with it really, really clinched it for me.
I'm a white on white guy. That's
me too.
still my uniform.
White spikes is just the best look you can have. I hate black spikes.
I sit there with a magic eraser after every damn game to make sure that they're pristinely white for the next game. And I'm nuts. I'm absolutely crazy.
All right. So before I get into my I'm going to dive a little deep into this one. So before
You're going
I do
to the
that,
Monarchs, aren't you?
before I get to that, Borek, let's hear your opinion.
This one was a little tough for me too because I've always been a fan of cool pop and blue jerseys, but because of looking back at, like you guys were talking about the A's jerseys, like the ones that Ricky wore and everything, and then I've always liked how they also have the gold that really pops to outline their names and the number.
Give it to
So,
Borek. You put us up 3-1.
I would go with the A's by a slim margin, even though Kansas City is one of the next stadiums I do kind of want to visit and see. But, I would give it to the
It's
A's.
a dog shit stadium. No one needs to go there. You pick the A's. I love you, man.
All right.
Great
So,
barbecue though in Kansas City.
so here's where I stood on this one. The other three, I don't even have notes for. I just circled them. I got to this one, and then I really stopped and had to think. And I started going back on Google. And this was before last night's pod, where I thought we were going to talk about this. So I was completely prepared. And I'm going to say about a half an hour. I even FaceTimed my girlfriend to show her all of these. I picked my favorite of each and said, I'm just going to put up my number one jersey of each, and whichever one I like more is going to be it. I'm not going to look at it anymore. And I went with Bo Jackson, the royal blue. The royal blue, not so much the powder blues. And I put that up with Reggie Jackson in the dark green. That's my favorite Athletics jersey. You can comment when I'm done my rant here. And I truly could not decide between the two. The royal blue Royals versus the dark green Athletics. I said I can't do it. So I said throw them out and pick the second favorite. So I looked up the Raleigh Fingers / Dennis Eckersley yellow Athletics jerseys, my second favorite, versus, the powder blue George Brett era Royals. And I looked at both and I said, I can't decide. So I went a little further into this debate. And I said, all right, take both of the 2019 home jerseys. And I just looked at both. And again, I still stood, I'm not even joking with you. I said this was going to be it. Like, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick whichever color scheme. I couldn't decide. So I said, I'm going to go back in history. And I found that I found the Athletics, when they played for Philly, they had an elephant logo, and I'm like, yep, I'm gonna give it to the Athletics here. I think that's so cool that they threw an elephant. It wasn't even like the A, like they took that away for a season and they made it an elephant. I thought that was the coolest thing back in like the 20s. I could be completely historically incorrect here. And then I went back into the Kansas City history just because I was like, just in case. And I found the Monarchs throwback jerseys from the Negro League, the Kansas City Monarchs.
Red or the white or the black pinstripes?
The red. The white,
fuck.
the red. And then I saw a picture of Jackie Robinson wearing it. So in honor of, not only did I love it over the elephant that I put it up against, in honor of Jackie Robinson Day, I'm going with the Royals. The Kansas City Monarchs, he played for 1 year before he signed with the Dodgers.
You didn't even pick their best uniform.
I
mean, this is amazing. You're using the Scott defense, and you're going to call us all racist if we don't agree with you.
No. I just thought, you know what? I was like, we didn't get to celebrate Jackie Robinson's Day on the 15th this year, and I had no idea. I didn't know he actually played in the Negro League, and when I saw the picture of him in the Monarchs uniform, and it said he played 1 year for one team, and it was the Kansas City Monarchs, I said, that's what I'm going with.
My God. I actually don't know if I'm more upset that you went against. I mean, I can't even get mad at this point at the amount of research that went into this. But the fact that you didn't know he played in the Negro League is questionable.
I just didn't know the full history. I mean, all I knew of Jackie Robinson was he played for the Dodgers. I knew the main accolades that he had with the Dodgers.
That's
all right, Sean. I'm going to give you some homework through the rest of quarantine. I'm going to need you to read a Jackie Robinson biography. Just any of them. There's 1,000 of them out there. I think I probably read one like every other year and did 3. Just every year through elementary school, I just got away with writing a report about Jackie Robinson, and no one could tell you not to do it because you're a racist if you don't let someone pick Jackie Robinson. Yeah. So check one of those out. You'll thoroughly enjoy it, I promise. But well done on the research, Sean. That was awesome.
I'll absolutely pick up Jackie Robinson biography. I have been that bored. I'm starting to get bored of the show, so I need something to do.
Too good at it.
I was just gonna make the same assessment.
Also has a brilliant documentary on Jackie. It actually aired the other day, I think, but it probably is going to air back again since we're in quarantine. So there's stuff, and then there's that. So
I will absolutely do that. So to wrap up the uniform bracket for this half of the podcast crew, Phillies beat out the Brewers 3-1. Cubs and Expos / Nationals tied at 2. The Yankees, in an upset, are down 3-1 against the Rays. And you voted for the
I know, man. I was trying to get a 2-2 split. I wanted to blame no matter what the hell the answer was on Thursday. I wanted to blame that crew. Now we're to blame.
And the Athletics are up 3-1 over the Royals. We humbly await the results of Thursday night's podcast. So, Shane, back to you for the rest of the pod.
Well done, man. Look, you're stepping your stuff up right now for the amount of research. I appreciate it. We're going to go to one more small bit here before we get to the end of it. I'm going to turn it over to Borek. But if you guys listened to last night's pod, we had a half AMA. So it was half baseball, half not baseball. So, Borek, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir. You can introduce what this mini bit is and kind of let everyone know what we're going to do each pod here.
Okay, so this is a mini AMA bit where we're, like Shane said, where we're all coming up with questions for each other, which could be sports related or non-sports related. Shane, because if you listen to the last podcast from Sean, put a joke in where he used, would you rather want Darren Ruff or Aaron Altair in our Phillies outfield? So if you want to understand that joke, listen to the last podcast from yesterday. But we're going to all ask each other different questions that would be very tough. Some maybe not as tough, but I have Sean to ask for the night, and then I will turn it over, I guess, to Scott, who will ask me, and then we'll move on to everyone else. So, Sean, I had a question for you about guilty pleasure artists. If you could only listen to one of these two guilty pleasure artists for the rest of your life, would you listen to Creed or Nickelback?
I'm going to go with Nickelback. I like a couple of theirs, so I can't think of them off the top of my head. But I don't understand all of the slander on Nickelback. I think it's just because it's a meme, but I do thoroughly enjoy some Nickelback songs.
Okay, that was definitely no. I thought of that right away when we said this because that was just a.
I thought you just Googled shit that no one would want to decide.
No, I've asked people that whenever we've had like dumbass either or questions. That's one of my go-to ones. The other is Backstreet Boys or Boyz II Men.
Ooh, that's a harder one to me.
That's really tough. They're both great.
Right.
Wow.
You saved that one. We're asking someone from the Thursday Night Crew that question. That's a tough ass question.
Wow. I thought you were gonna hit me with a harder one, like an Ariana Grande or some other pop artist today.
Well, I didn't know you
I
were a
wasn't expecting.
Nickelback fan, or a minor Nickelback fan,
Here and there.
Here and there. He's got 6 of his albums.
I can't even name you a
Chad
song.
Kroeger tattoo on his back, like.
Correct.
I can't even name you a
Chad,
song
I
off the top of
trust.
my head, so I don't know. I'm not that big a fan.
That's fair.
But I'll turn it over to Scott now, who you are asking me a question. So whatever you have, fire away.
I think I was supposed to ask Shane, but I can ask you. It doesn't matter.
so-
This
oh,
question is-
Whoa. No, man, I read that wrong. Shane will ask me a question. Sorry.
There you go.
Who the hell's asking who right now? Is Scott asking
Shane,
me?
you're supposed to ask me a question. Sorry.
All right, sir. No worries. All right, man. So this is specifically because of all of our individual conversations that I've had with all of you, I mean, no offense to the rest of you, but I truly believe that the most diehard Philadelphia Phillies guy is Joe Borek. So I'm going to ask you one of the most difficult questions somebody could ever ask me. Would you rather, in either of these two cases, you become the Steve Bartman of the Philadelphia Phillies? So please tell me you know this story.
A little bit. I know somewhat of the background, yeah.
Great 30 for 30 on Bartman if you want to watch it.
Scott, give the Cliff Notes.
This nerdy ass Cubs fan. Everyone knows about the Cubs curse and all that shit. He was sitting.
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, he was sitting in the stands, reached out, and caused fan interference, ruined the game. Cubs lose, don't win a World Series for a long time. They won one, so it's all okay. And Bartman's kind of, not a villain as much anymore, but ruined the guy's life.
So your life would be ruined in an age where social media has taken over the entire planet. So Bartman got to live in even he didn't get to live in actual anonymity. He was truly a villain. So you would be the villain of arguably the harshest sports town in the entire country. So you would fuck things up and the Phillies wouldn't win a World Series. Or you sit there and you set your fandom aside and you pay no mind to the Philadelphia Phillies. You don't watch, you don't listen, you don't read, you don't participate in conversations or anything for an entire decade before you can return yourself to this fan base. But you know that this Philadelphia Phillies organization wins at least one championship during that 10 years. What are you choosing? Are you a selfish guy?
I would choose, because I assume you're saying I can't divulge in the Phillies, so I could still watch other shit. So I would choose the 10 years and not be selfish there, just because I don't want to be an asshole that keeps a team from winning a World Series, especially in today's day and age, because we see where if you say one minutely thing wrong today as a known person, you're thrashed, let alone doing something like that. So I would say I would take the 10 years and just watch another team for 10 years, and then
You're a
whoever
selfless
that may
man.
be, and then come back. Maybe I'll go back to watching the A's, throwback. They used to be here in Philly. So.
And they have a fantastic uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if they
big
lose out to
elephant
the
guy,
Monarchs.
Joe Borek.
The elephant guy. Oh, well, good, man. That was a personal test. I needed to make sure that you were willing to sacrifice some things for Philadelphia Phillies championship. So good work by you.
Yep, of course.
Who's up next?
You can either do Scott is supposed to ask you, or Sean is supposed to ask Scott.
All right, I'll step up. So this is something that may be facing some people right now in quarantine. You can either cut your hair or cut your beard, or shave, however you want to put it, for the rest of your life, but you can't do both. Which one are you picking?
Jesus Christ.
Holy crap.
You're going to look like a serial killer either way. So
Wait, are you saying from this day forward, one of those things will never be cut again?
you get either one last haircut or one last shave, and then that's it for the rest of your life.
Oh my God. Dude, our grandfather has the fucking most perfect hair forever. We're never going to go bald. That would have been such an easy answer.
Yeah.
But knowing our family history, I'm fucked.
Yeah, you're going to be the old dude with 10-foot long gray hair.
And
Might
my
look
hair
awesome,
doesn't
who
even. I used to have great hair. My hair used to go long and it looked normal. Now I just look like I have a Jew fro. It's insane. We're not even Jewish. I don't know what happened. It's bizarre. That's not good. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say fuck. Jesus Christ. All right, this is tough. All right, I'm just gonna let the beard go, man. Like it can't get that long, right?
Compared to
All
your
right.
hair, you might look like Gandalf real quick with hair.
Nah, Gandalf is tall and skinny, man. I'm short and fat. Fucking garden gnome.
Hair wise.
Yeah,
Like one of the seven dwarves.
that's exactly right. Scott, that was an awful question. Nice work.
Yeah, it was supposed to be awful.
Good stuff.
Can I top it?
Let's
Go
see.
for it.
All right. So actually, the first thing that I thought, I was gonna make a reference to last night when I was paired up to ask Scott a question. But I couldn't think of the or. I could think of the either, but I couldn't think of anything to match it with. And Shane provided me with exactly what I was thinking and an or. So this is the question from Shane through me to you. Would you rather be forced to eat a sandwich with a horizontal cut or use one-ply toilet paper
For the rest of your life.
for the rest of your life?
You know, one of the promises I made to myself when I moved out of my parents' house, because they are just, for whatever reason, they wouldn't spend any money on toilet paper growing up. I promised myself I would buy the most expensive bougie toilet paper for the rest of my life.
It doesn't
I
even
freak
tear.
out. Yeah. It's basically just like a silk sheet that I throw out every time. So yeah, give me that sandwich. It's got to be a horizontal cut. At least I'm cutting it at all, though, not like a psychopath like Rob who doesn't cut anything. And you guys will now be getting a daily sandwich pic of me or from me every single day of me cutting my sandwiches and them looking great. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, give me that horizontal cut sandwich. Great question,
Are
Sean.
you gonna dip it in your tomato soup?
If I got the tomato soup, you have to. It's a great move.
You should put a YouTube video up of you making the sandwich and cutting the sandwich perfectly.
I feel
just
like we should
cur-
probably have like a Twitter live video of all four of us, or all six of us, with the exception of Rob, and just tag Rob in the video. Each of us making a sandwich, cutting it horizontally, Jesus Christ, cutting it diagonally the appropriate way. I feel like that would be highly entertaining for me.
Yeah,
That would be
absolutely.
very entertaining, and since I use YouTube and love it in the past, I'm 100% for YouTube.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
All right,
so-
did everyone got their self AMA question here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was everyone. Yep.
All right, man. So just a quick personal note from us. We're going to turn this one over to Borek too. This is just we're trying to make sure we all check in on everyone during the quarantine. So Borek, go ahead, pal.
Yeah, so I was just going to wish everyone and hope they're doing well and wish everyone well and say that we're all here. We're all praying for you all. We're behind you. And it looks like the curve is moving in the right direction now. So as long as everyone keeps doing their thing and stays safe, stays well, and also from the new warning, the new thing by the governor, wear a mask outside until May 8th if you're able to and able to buy masks. I understand if you can't find them somewhere, but just stay positive, stay well, because here at CTP Podcast, we're all pulling for you, and we are all going to be here providing shows for you on 2 days a week, and then on our weekend show, which is, of course, the great funny one with all of us on there, other than Biscuits yesterday, because he had more important things to do than be with us, apparently. But we'll excuse him for that because we know he'll be funny and great on Wednesday. So stay tuned for our podcast on Wednesday as well, which has Rob having a fantastic segment with rotations in it, which is going to be very exciting. So please stay tuned for that and just stay well and positive, everybody. And I'll turn it back to Shane if you have anything to say to our sponsors.
All right, and then this is for any wherever you are currently living near. Support local businesses. We support ours. We continue to support Just Food, or at least those of us who are local. We obviously Scott over there on the West Coast, and some of you guys not so super local to Bucks County. But if you are local to Bucks County, It is just food. It's 215-794-FOOD, 215-794-3663. Treat yourself. Take it home. I was actually texting our guy, Asian Rob, who's also our artist, who is going to be putting together a new cover and logo for us for the pod. So we're super excited about that. So we try to support him in any particular way that we can. Asian Rob's a great guy. Their food over there is phenomenal. You can get breakfast sandwiches also up until I think like 2 or 3 o'clock over at the Delville Market. That is in New Britain, PA, New Britain, Chalfont, Doylestown. It's kind of all like right there. And then like the more like lunch and dinner-esque type of stuff is in Buckingham Green Shopping Center. Again, it's just above Peddler's Village, if you guys are familiar with that area. But no matter where you're from, support your local businesses. Again, they need it more now than ever. This has been awesome, guys. It was fun getting to introduce the show as Chase and the Pennant. I'm digging the name. It was cool talking about it with some of the people that do listen to the show today. As I told them, I shoot a mass text out to some of our listeners, an email, just be like, hey, we changed the name. Don't be alarmed. It's still the same stuff. We just actually have an identity now. But it was cool, getting to tell the story to those guys, before they got a chance to jump on and listen. So, Sean, thanks again for the name, man.
Of course.
But that's going to be it for tonight. Again, as Borek said, Rob is going to be back with Biscuit and Andrew on Wednesday or Thursday night. Regardless, either way, it's going to drop on Thursday, the show for you. They're going to draft a pitching rotation each. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with it, but they're going to draft one, and then I guess just talk about it. That'll be awesome. They're going to give their opinions on the uniform bracket, and man, I'm disappointed in what we've accomplished tonight here on our end, so I'm looking forward to their listen now, and as opposed to ours. But thank you guys for keeping up with us. We appreciate it. We're going to sign this one off for now. For Scott, Sean, and Borek, I am Shane of the CTP podcast. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, danced a jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.